Linda Hollander has been featured by Inc. magazine as the leading expert on corporate sponsorship. She is the author of the number one best-selling book, Corporate Sponsorship in 3 Easy Steps. She's also the CEO of Sponsor Concierge and works with companies to help them fund their businesses with the awesome power of corporate sponsors. A popular international speaker, she is the industry leader and teaching entrepreneurs about how to get corporate sponsors. And her sponsors and clients include Microsoft, Wells Fargo, Epson, FedEx, American Airlines, Staples, Marriott, Walmart, IBM, and I could go on and on. Her media appearances include NBC, ABC, CBS, Bloomberg, and Entrepreneur Magazine. She received the Caught in the Act of Excellence Award, and she has over 20 years of experience in business, corporate sponsorship, sales, marketing, promotion, and creating lifetime customers. She lives in LA, California, with her husband, Leslie Greenfield, and various rescue cats. Welcome, Linda.
Great to be here, Gail.
Well, I knew I liked you for a reason. First of all, I love that you rescue cats. I have two cats. I've always had cats. Of course, I've had dogs too, but I just adore in fact, I just took wonderful pictures of them this morning because they were so cute on their little pillow together. So I admire you for that. And also, what is this Caught in the Act of Excellence Award? I have no idea what that is.
Well, that was a really big honor, and I had no idea. This woman had an organization, and they'd been following me for a long time. And she says, you have been awarded the Caught in the Act of Excellence Award, and they awarded it to me at one of my events. So we got great press out of it. We got amazing things from the Caught in the Act of Excellence Award. And hey, who wouldn't want that award, right?
Oh, I think that's great. That's great. Well, I told people a little bit about your background. Is there anything you'd like to add, or shall we just start talking about how you get corporate sponsors?
Well, I think I want to tell them the story of how I started getting sponsors because you can get sponsors, and I want people to know that we're going to talk about corporate sponsors today, and you can get sponsors even if you're just starting out. Even if you're a little micro business of one person, you can get sponsors because people think, oh my God, this is so sophisticated. I have to be a big company to do this, and, I can't really do this if I'm just starting out. And I want to let you know that you can. So if I can I just tell them a little bit about my background and how I started?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, basically, like you, Gail, I am an entrepreneur and have been for over 20 years. But before I started my business, my life was not wonderful because I was in really, really bad debt. I was afraid to go to my mailbox in the morning. I was living in a little rent-controlled apartment, driving a clunker car, hoping that car wouldn't break down because I had no way to fix it. And I was working at the time, but I was working in a dead-end job that I absolutely hated. I had to fight Los Angeles traffic to get there. I worked with people I didn't like. I had an abrasive relationship with my boss, and I wasn't even making enough money at that job to pay for my living expenses. So I took credit card loans, and that's why I had so many bills that I could never afford to pay on that salary that I was making at the job, and I really couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I did have, you mentioned cats. I had a cat at the time, but my landlord didn't like cats, and he said, get rid of your cat. And I'm like, no way. So I just hid the cat. But I was always afraid of being discovered, always afraid of being put on the street. And in my personal life, I was in a relationship, an abusive relationship with a man. And that relationship lasted for 4.5 years. And really what led me down that path was that I had absolutely no self-confidence and thought that that was what I deserved. But Gail, fortunately, one day I had an epiphany and I said, I am not going to be a victim anymore. I want my life to make a difference. So I fired my boss and I dumped that abusive boyfriend, and I met my husband 3.5 weeks later, and he had a 20-year-old cat. I think cats are going to be a theme in this particular talk that we have. So I said, well, this has got to be a decent person who's raised a cat to 20 years of age, and I was right. So my husband is a constant source of love and support for me. me. By starting my business, I was able to move out of the little rent-controlled apartment, buy my first home as a single woman. I traveled the world. I paid down my debt, and I loved giving advice to other women-owned businesses. So I wanted to start a women's small business expo because I wanted to help other women get empowered by learning entrepreneurship, by discovering how to start and how to succeed in their own small business. Because I started that business with my best friend and we grew it to a multi-million-dollar business. So I really wanted to do this, and I knew that I needed sponsors to get it done. Because at that point I had left the business, the bag business, and I was working at home, out of my kitchen table. I said, I've got to get sponsors to make this dream happen of the Women's Small Business Expo. So the first sponsors that I got with no experience, I'd never done an event in my life. I had absolutely no following. I had my brother-in-law and I had my parents on my email list. I mean, what were they going to say? No. So I got Bank of America, I got Walmart, and I got IBM as my first sponsors. So ever since then, people said, how the heck are you doing this? How can I do this? So I want people to know that, because I want people to know that you could do this and you could start at any time. You don't have to wait till you're big. You don't have to wait till you've got a big team around you. You don't have to wait till you've got a big following. Start thinking right now of how you can get your sponsors.
That's fabulous. I mean, that's a great story, and it's a great story in a lot of ways for not only the business end of it, but the personal end of it. I mean, isn't that interesting that we think that we deserve to be victims, and you were a victim at work, you were a victim in your personal relationship, and thank goodness you got out of it. But it's interesting how many women do not do that. So I think that was a very meaningful start to this. So let's go back to this sponsor and say, well, okay, you got these corporate sponsors. How do people identify their potential sponsors? I mean, what are sponsors looking for?
In the sponsorship game, I always say that demographics are destiny. So it's about what you do. And by the way, here's who could get sponsors. I help speakers get sponsors. I help authors get sponsors, people who produce events, people who do shows like you, people who have online magazines, people who have nonprofit charities, and then people who just kind of want to do a project, like people who want to do a documentary film, or if your child is in a theater group or a sports team, you could help your child get sponsors with what I'm about to tell you. So the demographics are destiny. So in my case, my demographics at the time were women business owners. So I called these companies and I said, hey, I can connect your brand with the $2.8 trillion market of women business owners in the U.S. And women business owners in the U.S. spend more than 5 countries combined. Women make or influence over 85% of the purchasing decisions in America, and women are starting businesses at twice the rate of men. So that really made their antenna go up, because who wouldn't want the market who makes or influences over 85% of the purchasing decisions? So do that kind of research about whatever your demographic is. If your demographic, like you, is the baby boomer generation, senior generation, urban youth, the college market, entrepreneurs, whatever your demographic is, do some research on that demographic, because the definition of sponsorship is connecting a company to people who buy things. So if you know people who buy things, you can get corporate sponsors.
That sounds great, and it's true. I think people look at it and say, wow, this is too big for me to even approach. And then, of course, they think anybody is their sponsor, but they really need to be very careful who they zero in on. So if they offer a sponsorship, what should be in the sponsorship package? I mean, do they say, just come on in and sponsor me? And what attracts them other than the demographics?
Okay. Well, what attracts the sponsors to fund you is benefits. So you want to give them some really enticing benefits. And the important thing is you want to make the sponsor the star and let them know that it is all about them, not about you. So you're going to say, hey, Mr. or Ms. Sponsor, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to help educate people about your products and services. I'm going to increase your customer base. I'm going to grow your customer loyalty. I'm going to drive traffic. I'm going to drive sales to your company. So see, in that pitch, it's all about them, how you're going to promote them, how you're going to help grow their company. Because remember, sponsorship is money that you do not have to pay back. So you're going to put benefits in the sponsor proposal. The sponsor proposal is so important because it is the most important but least understood document in the sponsor world. And when you are approaching sponsors, all they see about you is the proposal. So it has to be industry standard or you will not get funded. So I just talked about benefits. Another thing you're going to put in your sponsor proposal is what we talked about before, the demographics. You're going to describe your demographics. You're going to put your marketing plan in your sponsor proposal. And if you don't have a marketing plan, it's time to make one because it'll help you with your sponsors and it'll help you with your overall business because you've got to have a way to let people know what you do so they can buy from you. They can contribute to your cash flow and the help of your business so you could help more people. If you have any testimonials, you could put those in the sponsor proposal. And then the thing that I help people and my company helps people with that many other people do is storytelling. Okay, so that story that I told, I put it in my sponsor proposal. I put, the challenges that I've had of being in the poverty trap, of being in abusive relationships. And if you've overcome some challenges, put those in your sponsor proposal. We want to kind of make a connection here, an emotional connection, because I got news for you. Sponsors are people and people make the decision. So you want to show your vulnerability. You want to show your humanity. That's what's going to make your proposal stand out among the other proposals because people think, well, I'm sending this proposal to a big company and I'm going to put my pretty bio and that I won the Caught in the Act of Excellence Award and my education and all of, that stuff, put that in there, but also, show them that you're a real person and that they can connect to you in an emotional way.
Fabulous. Well, now I have the privilege of facilitating a mastermind group for not-for-profits. They're all people like Habitat for Humanity and the Girl Scouts and, people like that. So how can a not-for-profit partner add to the value of our offering?
First of all, those are two amazing nonprofits, the Girl Scouts and Habitat for Humanity. Those are some of my favorite nonprofits. You're in really good company there. So one of the big myths about sponsorships is that you need to be a nonprofit because we all hear about Susan G. Komen and all the sponsors that are falling all over themselves to sponsor Susan G. Komen and my charitable partner, Junior Achievement. Sponsors really love those particular nonprofits. But just think of some for-profits like NASCAR. I mean, NASCAR, their whole business model is based on sponsorships. So you can be a for-profit and get sponsors. I've always been a for-profit. A lot of my clients are for-profits. So if you are a for-profit company, I suggest that you have a nonprofit or a charitable partner, and you've done that beautifully, Gail. I know that you have a great nonprofit that you support, so you're going to give part of your proceeds to the nonprofit. And if you think, well, I'm not making enough money yet, how am I going to donate? The industry standard, the nationwide average for charitable donations is only 1.5%. So you could start small, and we could all do that with donations to a nonprofit. It's going to make you more attractive to the sponsor. You win, the nonprofit wins, the sponsor wins. And I want to tell you something else, because everybody thinks, well, charities and causes, they're always looking for money, and that is true. Of course, that's mission critical to a charity to be fundraising, but they're also looking for exposure. So you might choose kind of a grassroots up-and-coming charity that needs you to get the word out about them, and that's also very valuable.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I chose the Florida Breast Cancer Foundation because, of course, breast cancer is very close to my heart, being a 3-time survivor. And the other reason is because they are a small branch of all of the cancer foundations because they are a state organization and they're not necessarily well known. So that's exactly what I did. So, but you've got another point to make, which I'm very interested in, and that is how can we get media partners?
Okay, well, remember when I said you've got to have a marketing plan and you've got to get the word out about what you do? Well, here's where media can help you. And this is also going to help you if you're just starting out. in getting your sponsors. And this is one of the strategies that I used is you get media partners. Now, media partners are what's called in-kind sponsors. So in-kind or trade sponsors, they do not give you cash, but they give you a whole lot of benefits that are budget relieving. And in-kind sponsors are very, very valuable. And in the case of media, like with one, let's say, radio station, you could get 50,000 people. Whereas if you have like no following like I did in the beginning, remember I said I had my parents and my brother-in-law, it made it now I've got an additional 50,000 people that I could expose the sponsor to. So, for instance, I did a deal with a radio station, and they had, I believe, 60,000 listeners, and then they gave me 30-second spots. They gave me 60-second spots. They gave me sponsor spotlights. They put me on their website, and all I did was trade for